Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of Carnival of Randomness. This is, we have our guest host, Ken, with us today. Hi.
Hey, everybody.
And this is coming out a day after D-Day, right?
I'm sorry, say again?
Day after D-Day, right?
Yeah, well, today is, yes, it will be coming out.
It is D-Day, tomorrow's coming out.
Today is D-Day, this will be coming out tomorrow.
So this, I guess, is our D-Day special.
This is our
So what
D-Day.
do? We imported somebody from France. Hi, Nina.
Hello.
Do you have 99 Luft balloons? You probably don't get the reference, I bet. No, you would.
Just don't.
99.
And we're very glad.
99 Luftballon. It was a song by a girl named Nina, and there were two versions. One was German, one was French. It was was English rather. It was a massive hit with a hit video, and the song really stunk.
I know the German version.
Yeah,
I listened to it.
99 Luftballon.
I didn't know her name was Nina.
Yeah.
Now you do.
Well, you know what they say, I got 99 problems, but a lift balloon ain't one.
And now we have heard Julia's back with us. Hello, Julia.
Hey, good to be
And we're
here,
very
Rob.
thrilled because this is so hard to get this guest. She's all over the place. Grace Browning from the RPO. Hi, Grace.
Hey, Grace.
Hello, everybody.
How did you come up to-
Thanks for having me.
You are the head harpist now. How did you come to all this? And I know you're in Denver, you're in Santa Fe.
Yes, that's right. Well, it's so funny. I just got to Rochester almost 3 years ago. Feels like a lifetime, a good lifetime. Before that, I was in Dallas playing with the opera. I literally had never even been to Texas before the audition. And I was like, you know what? It's sort of like the Midwest of the South, you know? And great
But
music. Bigger. Everything's bigger in Texas.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
That's right. Oh, and I spent some time in Houston, too, playing with the symphony, which was so fun. And then before that, I was in Miami Beach, and I never thought I would live there. Got to play with the New World Symphony. But way before that, I was actually here in Rochester at the Eastman School of Music.
You didn't stay at the Eastman.
I did not stay, but I had 2 great years there, and then I went to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I studied at the music school at the university. And, you know, I'm glad I ended up in the North. I'll tell you that. I mean, obviously, I love Rochester for like a billion reasons, but...
The weather, especially.
The weather I really do love, actually. I find the cold exhilarating.
Do you?
Yeah. I just love it. It's like,
God love
I'm
you.
alive, you know?
God love you.
I mean, you got to bundle. You got to get used to bundling, and you just have to get over it. Bundle and go, you know?
Winter's not that cold in France, is it?
I know in my region it's raining a lot. We don't have snow, so that was something new. But it rains a lot, and it's not as cold as here.
So you had to get used to some stuff, too.
I had to get used to the snow, especially. I went skiing with my parents a few years ago, but I've never seen that much snow in a city, you know? So, to go to school on the bus in the morning with 6 inches of snow and with my boots, I was like, what's happening to me?
And Grace, you really prepare because one of the things I saw, you either did your hair or wore a really good wig as Princess Leia when you did that Star Wars stuff.
Oh,
You couldn't miss it, for goodness sake.
Oh, that was so fun. I found this amazing headband on Amazon, of course, because
Of course.
where else do you get
Where else do you
these
find
things?
Princess Leia hair?
And it came with like 2 little hair nets built in. Man, I mean, it got stuck in the pins on the harp sometimes. So that added for some more excitement. But yeah, I'm so excited we get to go back and play now. I mean, RPO we just kicked off our first live in-person concert last week. This past week. It was first live concert in 16 months.
With a new music director, an incoming music director.
Yes, Andreas
And how do
Delfs.
you like Maestro Delfs?
He is absolutely a dream. We really could not have asked for anyone more experienced, more kind, more positive, more inspiring. I mean, he's the real deal. And, you know, we've had an ongoing, relationship with him over all the years, right? I mean,
Right.
When was the first time you met Andreas?
You know, it was years ago, and they asked me, I was honored to be asked to do this sort of large videotaped long-form interview with him. And we did it at Good Luck, an empty Good Luck. And,
So great.
And it was like old home week, seeing him again. But when they said, do you think you know who got the job? And I said, yeah, Andreas Delfs. And she said,
Wait a minute.
how'd you do that?
How did you know?
How'd you
I
do
know.
that? I said,
You're
well,
like,
okay, so there are a few things that happened that made this hard. And it was all pandemic related because
yeah.
that whole season was supposed to be essentially auditions.
That's right.
For a whole number of
right.
different conductors, none of whom were going to be able to do it. It was all canceled. Now what do? Well, you need to have somebody who knows the orchestra, who knows the repertoire, who is available.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And he lives in Trumansburg.
That's
right. And who the orchestra immediately likes. And I knew that the orchestra was really crazy about him. And so I just put,
That's
two
right.
and two and two and two
Two and
together
two.
and said,
Yeah.
you gotta be Andreas Giles. And I just love him.
Well, and here's the funny thing too is that we hired him before the pandemic. Actually, he was lined up ready to go, and then it just again like the way that the cookie crumbled. It was like, wow, this couldn't have been more perfect. So yeah, we're gonna be back. We're gonna be. Oh my gosh, look at you! You got the season brochure. Woo woo!
Yeah, and he's really a great season.
Oh my gosh!
I'm already looking stuff
One
and
of the
telling
Yeah,
friends we're going to go to
exciting ones
this.
Okay,
is
so
the Jesse
obviously-
Montgomery.
Oh, okay, that's right. We are featuring so many amazing Black composers.
Yeah, this.
Also AAPI composers. Oh my gosh, that's right. That you are so prepared. So we have here a clip from the Democrat and Chronicle. We're so grateful for this feature. RPO announces next Truth is of No Color event. So I'll tell you a little bit about this series.
Herb Smith told us some bit about it.
Oh, okay.
which
So
is great.
Herb already told you a little
No,
bit.
tell us
That's
about it.
right. That's right. Well, each month we
You
produce.
can see the part I didn't do when the crossword pulls like get the words here. Oh, okay.
It's okay. It's all right. It's for good. So this series is monthly. It is free. It is streaming online. And again, you can just basically just go to rpo.org to access and download the series. And it's so wonderful. One of the things that I think is maybe has been a benefit of sort of moving virtual and re-examining the concert experience is that we are doing more concerts that are of a slightly shorter length, 45 minutes or an hour for some of these chamber programs. And that's the other thing too, it's chamber music as opposed to full orchestra. Like obviously we will never replace, full orchestra is really the bread and butter here, but what a fun experience for us to get to do these different experiences, to be featured as soloists and chamber musicians, and to connect with people in our community.
Yeah, but Mahler's second in a chamber form is just not going to work.
Yeah, no. One
See,
person
that's
being
why
like,
we have you on, because I never would have thought of that.
Four singers.
four singers.
Ken, what'd you want to say?
Is Herb still involved with the Gateway
Yeah,
Brass
he is.
project?
That's right.
There's going to be, and I know what it is, but I can't say. But there's going to be a big Gateways announcement coming up. But yeah, Herb is still involved with the Gateways.
Because they were at the
And-
last Jazz Fest at Hatch Hall, I recall. It was terrific.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful
The Gateways
space.
Festival is a terrific thing, but they've got there are some big changes and things they're going to be doing. So keep your eye on gatewaysfestival.org.
Jazz fests are interesting because I went up to Ottawa to see my friend Nestor. He's in this Cuban band, and unfortunately, at the time, with the things going on, they wouldn't let them back in the States. So I went up to see them in Toronto, and we went up to see them in Ottawa. And the headline band at the Ottawa Jazz Fest was Stone Temple Pilots, that known jazz band. So,
Oh, when we were
Oh, I love Stone Temple Pilots.
But-
well,
Come on,
my
you
husband
jazz.
was the president
yeah.
of Prindy, what was named called Prindy Public Radio News Directors Incorporated, and he was doing a site check for he did a site check for Toronto and for Montreal, wanting to take this national organization international. We went to Montreal for the site check, and we happened to be there during the Jazz Fest, and noticed that they had this great jazz player, Patti Smith, playing.
oh, you mean like almost the same name as the punk rocker? Amazing.
Oh,
Now,
I
one
love
thing I
it.
want to ask, I've been asking musicians, that's why a lot of instruments looked at me and said, you better do a podcast instead of playing. Why harp? Did you always want to play harp, or did it
This
say,
is a
did
great
it go,
question.
did it say, Grace, come to us, or were you always like,
In a
were you always
dream.
or were you
Right.
always drawn to it?
Well, this is, it's so interesting how we end up matching with our instruments. Sometimes it's like we find them, and sometimes they find us. And I think mine was more the latter. And it was mostly thanks to my mother, who was not a harpist, but she was and is a beautiful singer, and she, played some piano, and she always kind of wished that she had maybe started younger, So when I started piano at 6, I was singing in choir when I was 3, and then basically My mom was at a school event with me, and she ended up, actually singing at this school concert with someone's mom who was a harpist. And this woman, basically just started chatting with my mom, and she was like, hey, that's cool. And, and she was like, I'm teaching my daughter how to play. It's really fun. And coincidentally, there was someone in our town who had a little tiny folk harp from Ireland that her husband had brought back for her, saying, here you go, honey, everything you've always wanted, an Irish folk harp. And she's like, it's really pretty, but I don't want to play it. So, put two and two together, and, I started harp lessons. My mom just was sort of like, well, what do you think? And looking back on it, I now see how this was such a perfect match, because I was a rather hyperactive child.
No, really?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because I'm so antisocial. No, but there was something that I loved that was about the tactile and visual and kinesthetic approach to playing and using my body, and it was very grounding. The only thing I didn't love about it at first was that it seemed like a very solitary thing.
I was going to say lugging it around, maybe.
Well, that could be a thing. Well, again, that's why you start small. They get you in that way, and then you realize you have to get a bigger car, and then a bigger. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a whole thing. You can rent a harp from $50 a month, or you can buy one at $150,000. That's basically the entire price range. But of course, even as a professional, I wouldn't. My instrument is easily, it's basically like you equate it with a good car. If you want an instrument that works, get a Honda Civic, maybe $20,000 if you want something bigger, next level. Yeah.
With the harp, I got to believe there's a lot of different materials that it can be made of. Today with carbon fibers, and it's also with wood.
That's
and so
right.
Appreciable sound differences between these different materials?
Yes, absolutely. Especially, they did recently come out with a carbon fiber harp. I have not had the opportunity to play it yet, but people who gig a lot, especially if you're doing street performing,
They got to be tough as nails.
Really tough, yeah. So I've heard that is good. It's definitely not something that you play in orchestra. For that you need the big guns. Basically walnut, mahogany, maple, and birch. These are most of the kinds of wood that the harp is made of. Generally, a lot of us play Lion and Healy. Lion and Healy is like the Steinway of harps, you could say. So a lot of people are like, okay, so do you play on your own harp when you go? How do you move it, right? So there was a time back before 9/11 when apparently you could literally go to the airport with your harp trunk, like a big, huge thing. Oh, pardon. And you would just check it, and you would arrive on the other side with your harp.
Well, I know Michaela had problems when she was playing in Europe because she had to get a harp there.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
And now, thank goodness, we have things on Facebook, like the Harp Borrowing Club, Harp Exchange, where often you're like, I'm going to be in Poland for 2 weeks. Can anyone help me?
Yeah.
I'd love to list it. I'm going to be in Netherlands, Antilles, and somebody fly in the harp from.
This was a huge problem for the Rochester Philharmonic Youth Orchestra. Every
my
time they
gosh,
went to
you're
Europe.
right.
Because it wasn't just harp; it was timpani as well. But
Sure,
there was
you always have to borrow
and
Triangle.
and getting the double basses packed up was always.
Well, I have my
Like
one
that.
nitpick about that song, "The Minstrel Boy," too, because it's wild harp sung behind him. That's the national instrument of Ireland. Nobody's going to take it in battle with them, because if they fall, it'll desecrate it. Leave me alone.
It's
I
a
think
good
it's
thing a
stupid
harp
stuff
isn't
like
that
that.
instrument.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. Yeah, it was too challenging. Even now, you've heard probably horror stories of people checking their instruments. Even basses still have to travel with their own instruments. Yeah. And it is such a risk, and such a. There have been at times when they open their case and the neck is cut in half.
J.B. Vandermark teaches at Round Top. He is a double bassist, a professor at the Eastman School of Music. Just got the Eisenhower Teacher of the Year. Brilliant man, one of the best double bassists in the world, and he teaches at Round Top, which is in Texas. And what he does, is he actually boxes up his double bass and ships it ahead of him. And it does not go on a plane. He truck ships it. And now this is harder because having a harp having more than one harp at the price tag that you have,
Right.
to be able to pack up a harp and ship it ahead of you, it would be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I did it once when I was like playing a concerto with the Pacific Symphony, and I was in LA or Orange County, and I was also going to be doing a couple recitals, and I needed to rent a car and move it, but luckily the orchestra was willing to pay for the shipping, which is on its own $500.
Oh.
So it is no joke. You really have to be willing to be like, I really need my own harp, because other than that, like, you can use another one. But
How long does it take to tune? Do you have to tune it before every performance?
yeah, we, theoretically, tune it about as often as a violinist would tune, But what's nice is that it does, I mean, these days the harp actually does stay in tune really well. I mean, as long as, like, you have a relatively, like, in the olden days it was hard. We didn't have temperature control, and the strings were less, were not as strong so it used to be, like, tuning was a real, there's that horrible saying, like, harpists spend half their life tuning and the other half playing out of tune. It's like, oh, God help us.
Are the pins similar to what we would see on a grand piano or on a piano?
They are, yeah, they are. They're just, they do, yeah. I mean, but they're more pliable in the sense that, yeah, like, so basically, if I'm going to tune like a super solid tuning, like super solid, checking everything, like doing by ear and all that, like, it would be like 15 minutes.
That's not
If I'm going to do like a quick tune up, 5.
How many strings?
Yolanda Kononasis
7,
commented.
47.
47.
And
26,
Yolanda
7,
Kononasis commented that
Yes.
she feels that the harp strings as of late have not been as robust.
Oh yeah,
And
that
she's
was the
seen
whole
a lot
thing,
of
right?
breakage.
Yeah, there were a few years where, yeah, not to get into too many of the details with how the cow gut and whatnot, but there were a few years where it wasn't a good product. It wasn't a good batch, so to speak, and they've been able to fix that now.
We had Anna Dunlap.
Yeah, that's right.
And we had her on Backstage Pass. And we're in the middle of an interview portion of Backstage Pass.
Oh, yeah.
And we hear this whack, fling. Everybody jumped. And I said, and that was the sound of a harp string breaking.
That's great. It's like the moment. Oh my gosh! When I
And
first
she was not at the harp, by the way. So.
Oh my God. When I first joined the Dallas Opera, I would have strings break every once in a while because, well, hey, it happens. And people were not used to it. So they were like, Grace, like, is your harp okay? Like, why? I was like, yes, it breaks strings. It's okay. It's totally normal. But it is really scary because sometimes, yeah, it is in the middle of a performance. I mean, once I was literally on stage playing Prokofiev 5, and the harp plays in every movement, and I broke a string right before the downbeat. And I was like, okay. So first of all, we always have our strings with us. That is rule number 1.
Yes.
You always have to have them literally right there, not backstage, right there next to you. And you have to have pretty much every single string there, just in case. I mean, the chances of it being a wire string, very, very, very slim. But, chances of being up here, much higher. So at least I'll always have like a couple octaves. And even that's risky. Anyway, so I had to, basically it was a second octave A. And I knew that in the second movement I was about to play, there's actually this big excerpt in the second movement of Prokofiev 5. It was that A, literally. And, sometimes you can cheat with the harp because if let's say it's an A flat, then you can say, I don't have an A flat, but let me use a G sharp instead. Right? Because it's going to sound the same.
You could pedal it too, couldn't you?
Well, that's what I mean. So yeah, we could make, and I can get into pedals too, but essentially we have the ability to double a sounding pitch, But in this case, there's only literally one A. There's only one A string. So basically, I take it out of the bag. First I find it, and then I pull the harp back, play, and I'm still having to listen and stuff. And then I start tying the knot, pull the harp back, play, and then I stick the little string in, I tie it through, pick the harp, play, and then and then finally I get it up, and then of course I have to tune it, and the chances of it then staying in tune are very slim, especially, and it's also before the solo, so you can imagine, how bad would that
Watch
sound.
for this when you go to RPO shows.
I know.
And go up to
See
Grace
if you can
afterwards and
find
say, you found it.
Well, someone did after this performance. Thank God I got it up. I came in, miraculously it was in tune, and someone afterwards was like, oh my God, are you okay? I just saw what happened, and I am in awe. And it was one of these, it was in the Arch Center in Miami, so there were people sitting right behind us. Yeah, there's all sorts of fun things that happen in the band.
Anna, you all amaze me at your agility in doing this. When that happened, and it was like nothing happened. I had to explain what it was because Anna wasn't. And then there was a piece, and it was maybe only 5 minutes or something. And then she was going to be playing. And I watched that girl just hop up, pull out the strings, because again, you have all the strings there. Pull out the bad string, part of which is still by my desk at work, and restring the harp and get it tuned and everything like that. And Gene and I were just in awe.
Yeah.
We were in awe.
We sort of have to be like harp ninjas.
Wow,
you know?
guitarists just go, I broke a string. You got a string, stop. But I'll try, I want to ask you this question. I tried this question with Michaela.
Yes.
Michaela Davis. We're actually at her band member, Sugar Shane, at a show with his band Honeymoon Phase over at Bernunzio. And Michaela went all technical on me and I got lost. I just asked her, I was talking to her and I said, how do you transcribe something to your instrument? And she got really excited, but she forgot I have no idea what I'm talking about, and she started getting all technical.
Yeah.
So how, like, if you take a piece, how do you transcribe it to harp?
Totally.
What kind of challenges are there?
Well, I guess the first thing that we have to deal with, again, because we have pedals. So essentially, the pedals are not like piano pedals. Piano pedals, of course, change the duration. By the way, Nina, are you a musician too?
I play the piano.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Okay,
Yes,
well, this
we
is
are.
good. Then we can bounce off of each other here because, again, I started
Then we
with
can
piano.
go into the Ken, then we can go into the youth music stuff.
That's
yeah,
right. Oh my gosh, exactly. So essentially, the harp without the pedals is like the white keys on the piano, right? Yeah. Just all, sort of naturals, right? But it's when the pedals come into play that you have basically one pedal for every pitch, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Right? And with each one of those, you can basically just set whatever key you need. So if you're playing in C major, again, everything's in natural. If you're playing in D major, you have two sharps. All this to say that essentially when you have a lot of chromaticism, when you have a lot of the, going sharps to flats or vice versa, you need to be able to actually sort of write in an extra line of instructions just for your feet. So we have almost like 3 lines that we're reading, and it just basically looks like C natural, F sharp, D sharp, E flat, and we have little pedal diagrams. But, aside from that, we can play most any piano music, keyboard music. It's all, the harp, thank goodness, because we have these pedals. We didn't always have pedals. And without all the pedal options, we could only play in like 7 keys, maybe.
You would be modal at that point.
Yeah, just a few options, and we would get creative. But then once the full pedals came into play, and by the way, what people don't see is that on the inside of the harp, there are 2,000 moving pieces. 2,000 little mechanisms, levers, rods that start in the base of the harp and go all the way up through the column, then down into the curve of the neck. And then that's how it works. Basically, the pedal then causes a little mechanism, the one that was getting stuck in my Leia hairnets.
I'll never forget that. That was like dedication.
When they get stuck, because what they do is they twist. And by twisting, they change the length of the string. So they make it shorter or longer. So it goes bow, 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 bow.
So conversely, I've seen Michaela reach over and she's just physically
pitch bending
on a harp.
That's right. We can pitch bend.
So
you remember
cool.
Sweet Galactique?
Yeah.
This piece I played. I played on Julia's backstage pass. It's so fun.
So cool. Yeah.
And I do remember, I'm the person who got all your trivia questions on your Harpio show wrong every week.
Oh, you're so funny. Well, it's sort of cruel.
Your commitment to your fans having to drink those beverages every week.
Oh, that was such hard work drinking those beverages with Julia.
It was like you were
the
really
other
all
guy.
out. But that was really fun during
I'm
COVID
so
because we didn't have.
glad.
I used to tune in. It's like I had all my friends written down all week for their online shows,
you're
and we had
so
Harpy
good.
Hour.
That's so kind. That was so much fun, and I can't wait for us to maybe do that in person soon, right?
Several years ago, I did a show with Sandy Giannini here locally.
Oh, love her. I'm seeing her later today.
Tell her I said hi.
Harp meeting.
We did Fringe Fest, and we did a show at Bernunzio's, and it was just for spoken word and harp. I did the spoken word. I wrote the show.
Was the harp loud, hopefully?
She was background music for the different periods that I was speaking about.
Wow.
How cool was this?
Brilliant.
Bernunzio is a great place to play in, too.
I have an MP3 of it. I'll send it to you. It's really cool.
Yeah, and Bernunzio's just, I love Bernunzio's. It's for years. And remember Maybird had that show there, and Sam, obviously. It's just, I love small music shops and just bless them during this time.
I know. We should head out there. But so yeah. But Nina, you sort of you sort of get, I mean, I feel like the thing that I missed, or actually the thing that I loved about the having pedals was I didn't have to remember what key I was in, because when you're a pianist, you have to remember all the
Yeah, you have
frets.
to. I was thinking. I was thinking a lot of the dirty work is done by your harp, so you don't have to. You don't have to remember to play that black key
That's
because
right.
it's all set for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really harder. I remember it was like a struggle to learn the pedals and stuff. I think I never really got it. I quit before I could totally
You mean,
get because I
you
don't
play
play
harp?
No, I play the piano.
Oh, you play,
and, like, the
with
pedals,
those pedals.
Those pedals,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
pedals were like really hard to understand. So yeah, it was a struggle, especially because like you said, we had like a line is just for the pedals. Like,
That's
we had
right.
to do like right, left,
Mark.
the one in the middle.
Yeah.
Like it was horrible.
It's like patting your tummy and rubbing your head and then
Yes.
switching. And where are you, what are you doing now?
I started to play the ukulele during the quarantine because I was bored. So I was like, I might
fun.
try. And it was really nice.
Student. She's a student. She's here the past year.
She picked the best year ever to come
Yeah.
to the country.
Oh, I
didn't
don't
she?
think so.
Oh my gosh. And then when do you go back to France?
So I'm going back next Friday.
Oh mon Dieu! Peut-être nous pouvons parler en français un petit peu.
Pas de problème, ça me va.
When do you voyager? Or well, are you excited? How do you feel about?
I'm excited to go back and see my parents, my sister, of course. Also sad to not stay here in summer because it's a time period I never saw to because I always go back during the summer. But I'm really excited to go back to
Wasn't it
France.
too? We were going to have you on the show, and Vicky was going to be on, but I think this is when COVID started. Didn't you? Wasn't something like you were stuck in the house for 2 weeks after
She was
coming over?
quarantining, yeah.
Yes, I was. Well, I remember when I first arrived last March, like the schools were still open, shops, and I spent 4 days at Aquinas, and then it shut down. And I was like at home, and I remember I had the choice to go back or just to stay. I was like, well, I'm here now, and I knew the situation was worse in Europe and France, especially with COVID.
Yeah.
So, like I'm gonna stay here.
And you could get the vaccine, right?
Well, it's really complicated. I know in France, like maybe half of the population is vaccinated, and it's like in majority people 60 years old or older.
Okay.
Oh,
that's
because they
good
are
then.
giving like priority to people who could be like impacted by COVID.
okay, that's good.
My sister might get the vaccine now.
Now, were you able to get the vaccine while you were here?
I got vaccinated here.
Oh, good,
That's
good.
good.
But can you travel without it?
I think you can
Get to Europe?
because I have the vaccine, but they're still asking for PCR tests. Even if you're vaccinated, so I think you might be able to travel if you have a negative COVID test.
Was Christmas hard?
Well, I went back for Christmas.
You did?
I did.
Oh,
Yes, I went
yay.
2 weeks.
Well, how has flying been, Grace? I know you've been traveling. You've been to Denver and all
Oh
over
my
the
gosh.
place.
You know, at first, I mean, let's see. My first time really on a plane was February, and that was before I was vaccinated. So I was a little scared. It was just very surreal. You know, it was very, very, very surreal. And I felt great on one of the flights, and then one of the other flights was pretty crowded. And I was just sort of like, but I mean, everything was fine and all of that. But I did end up upgrading on the way back to first class. I mean, it thankfully wasn't like that much more, but I was like, you know what? I will definitely pay for an extra 6 inches or 12 inches.
Our
of space.
daughter's in Washington, D.C., and we have been ultra fussy about which airlines she should go on because some airlines have been far more careful than other airlines.
That's right.
And we've been pretty adamant. She did take one trip home on one of the non-approved airlines, and she was appalled. She was so...
Oh, she was like, oh God.
She said it was bad.
Oh,
yeah.
It was really hard. The other two were tremendous, but this one, it was, like you said, it was well packed in, and nobody could afford to upgrade her. And it was just uncomfortable. And she said that the airline attendants were just nasty. So
They're like,
because
you want something to drink?
they're very stressed out. It is
Put a little bit
Yeah.
of COVID in your drink.
Here,
Would
you
you
want
like
a
that with the
Corona?
side of Coke? Oh no.
It's weird because I know when I went back, we had like a seat between. I don't know if it
Right.
was like we had a seat between us and I don't know. I saw people. I don't know if you saw that on the plane, but people with an entire suit of COVID protection.
Oh,
thing.
like a
I have-
hazmat suit.
I
I saw
musician
one
friends
here
who do
actually. Somebody at a
basically-
Wegmans came out wearing a hazmat suit one day.
But you know, like the yellow suits, like the scientists
Yeah,
wear.
right.
Why? Just wear the mask and it's But
I
it's
know,
crowded.
well,
Like I was
it's-
really surprised.
I
that
I
the
have
planes are crowded.
a
even
friend of
Especially
mine is
now.
a pianist,
people are
and he was doing international travel, and he had a hat, he had goggles, he had a face mask, and he had a face mask. He had one of those plastic face screens and a face
Multi-level.
mask on top of that, and then wrapped himself up in a scarf here.
You know, at
I'm
a
thinking,
certain
like,
point, it's almost like whatever is going to make you feel. You know, say it's
Yeah.
almost like even the airport
And
security
staying out of
itself.
Walmart,
it's sort of a
basically.
charade. Yeah, I mean, and it's hard too. I mean, with some of the new orchestra protocols that we're sort of returning to, like in Santa Fe Opera this summer, we are asking people to sit closer because we have vaccinations, we have masks, we have testing, we have a lot of stuff. But
What
there are
is
people
like the
who are just
capacity
still
for
not comfortable.
RPO this fall? I haven't really
I
looked
think
at it
it's
yet.
going to be, you know, I mean, we haven't. I mean, obviously
hasn't
things
been
are
announced
going to
yet.
continue to change, but right now, obviously, we're outdoors, which is awesome, and that is the perfect transition to in person for us, I think, and I think for everyone. And as we go into the fall, I mean, again, we'll see like how the vaccination rates are going. We'll see how, you know, I'm gonna assume, you know, it sounds like the Excelsior Pass is gonna become pretty standard, and there might be some sort of proof of vaccination. I know there's probably also gonna potentially just be different sections like there are right now.
Yeah, I've heard about that they've been doing, that some places using something like the Excelsior Pass have
Yeah.
been doing 2 sections with and without.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
What is, I was asking about, I'm picturing the Philharmonic on stage.
Yeah.
First of all, does Kodak Hall got a number now that people can attend? I know I heard 300 at one point, now more than 300.
Well, you know, I mean,
Has that
again,
been increased?
We are not, you know, I can't speak for Eastman itself because we're not in there right now, and we basically, you know, we borrow the space from them. So, I know that we're going to continue to have conversations about this, but for example, I mean, most likely whatever the guidelines are right now, you know, from my experience so far on like our patron services and marketing committees, like it can be really challenging to keep up with the changing guidelines, of course, because by the time you have new ticketing and seats and blah, 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 and pods, then suddenly they're like, you don't need pods anymore.
Yeah, I mean, a thing
it
I've been
takes-
saying about this too
takes
is
a while
this has
to-
never happened to us in our lifetime,
Yeah, this
and we
is-
have to just adjust as we go. And
But
one,
it's hard to adjust
Yeah.
when you've sold
Yeah.
2,000 tickets.
That's right.
And when you've got, what are you going to do? I mean, I'm speaking as a mom
Yeah.
Yeah.
whose daughter had to uninvite
yeah,
50, 60 people to her wedding in September. How do you say to someone who has laid out cash, oh, you can't come?
Well, then well, in this case, we refunded.
yeah. Mine, I've tried to donate or whatever. That's all you can
that's
do.
really
But I was
good.
going to ask you, this is the
Or
question
it's
I asked
credit.
Herb, and he didn't give me the straight answer. Okay, like when you did Star Wars, Darth Vader's march, is that horse Mars from the planets, basically?
You know what? John Williams is the biggest thief, so if you
You know
hear
what
it,
Herb
it's
said to me?
probably
Herb
true.
said, Herb used the line, you know, okay musicians borrow, good musicians steal. and I'm convinced
quote.
that's
definitely
Mars
I've
from
heard that.
Horse to Planets.
Well,
Could be a
it's
tribute.
It's very similar. Okay, so we can sing both, right? So Mars is dun 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 da da dun 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 3 4 5 1 da da dun da da dun.
And a live performance here on the show.
Yes.
Isn't this awesome?
All right, yeah,
And
but then I'll do Darth Vader.
And then Darth
Dun,
Vader.
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, so dun dun
dun.
dun da da. Yes.
What's the
What was like a
But so this is
difficult?
for-
What was like a difficult piece to play out of like those films and everything? What was like? Because you think he
Oh
has
my
pop.
gosh.
I know there's a
Oh.
lot of. This is like the Harry Potter. There's a lot of like John. It's not
Very
easy. What was like
difficult.
really difficult?
It is some of the most thrilling and exhilarating playing. For me, it is very reminiscent of opera because, again, obviously we're following the conductor, but the conductor is following the click track. And, you know, in that sense, like, just like the conductor would be following the singers or something. So they're sort of like, okay, we have to go with this. But we are not using click tracks, which makes it really, really really interesting. I think the best part is just how you see the composers literally like bringing the picture into sound, and creating this whole dimension. And again, like opera. Okay, so Wagner, he would tell the musical story with motifs, themes. So like Siegfried, whatever, dun da da. What this is, that's that character, and then the love theme, like Leia, da 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 da. It's like you can actually experience the story without words and even without visuals, just by the music itself.
And I will say, I think the last regular show I went to see before the big lockdown was Masagorsky, and that was really fun. And I go to both, and I always took my dad, loved the Christmas shows. But I also look at this the way with the cinematic things, bringing in more use to classical music.
I will say, in real deep deference to the musicians on the stage, and I know this is certainly true with the Bugs Bunny stuff, which I know you've also played, that stuff was never meant to be performed that way. And this is super hard on the musicians.
It's the reverse.
Because
exactly.
It's the idea of running the film with the music underneath. Those musicians are going into their LA and they're doing like a 15-minute stretch at best. And then eventually it's all put together, as opposed to, like you said, it's in reverse. So this is the horn players, for example, just say their faces are falling off after Star Wars. Because
it's so loud, too.
It's was never meant or built to be played.
Well, yeah, but it's true. I mean, you're going to feel that way after an opera as well. It's just the length, the duration, the force. It's just you need a different kind of stamina.
It's a real
and mentally too. Mentally, again, just like opera, it's like all this changing meter. It's like 1, 2, 3, and a pause. A 1, 2, and you're like, ah! The whole time. I mean, all over the place. But I mean, again, for an ADHD harpist, it's a dream.
That was, and this was the comment. We had one of the conductors of the Bugs Bunny in for an interview, and this is the comment that he made: is that you have to be an extremely good orchestra, which Rochester is. He said he's one of the best that he's seen with the Bugs Bunny shows, because he said that the way these things are put together was never in the composer's intention. And that's, I mean, kudos to the RPO, that the RPO is so very, very good. I'm telling you, these film conductors, and there are conductors, and their whole gig is that they go around with films, and they do these films all over the world. And they have told me time and time again, this is one of the best orchestras to do films.
That's true. Yeah.
Was Mark Waters at the helm of that show, the Bugs Bunny show that happened here? There was one, I think, last year or 2 years ago.
No, they have a special guy who does that. I don't know his name.
Okay.
Well, I think one of the best, one of the biggest benefits to doing this kind of programming is that it is a new entry point for audiences who have not been into the theater before.
If you see kids, how many of these shows dressed up? And
it's
they bring
the
everybody.
best.
It's like at the Christmas shows.
I got to play the new Star Trek films when I was in Houston, both of them, with the cute Captain Kirk dude. What's that actor's name?
Chris Pine.
Yes! Oh my gosh, sorry. It was the most fun I think I've ever had, and everyone came in decked out, and it was packed. Yeah. And again, like, the only thing is that then I think a lot of us, maybe on the administrative side, or we think, okay, great. So because they came to see this, then they're going to want to come hear Beethoven next week. And maybe, but really, what the data shows is that when people come for the first time to a concert experience and have a good experience there, they're most likely to come back for the exact same experience, which doesn't mean that they can't eventually transfer, but you have to have a logical next step. So you say, okay, if you like this, maybe you'll try these pop series.
And at least they know about it, too.
But I will also add to that, financially, that this is one of the really good things about it, because it fills the seats and it brings money into the coffers, so that when you step out and you do something a little more experimental, more risky, more unknown, that if that doesn't get as big a fill in your seats, it's okay, because John Williams took care of that.
There's an analogy I'll use, like take an Adam Driver, for example. He does the Star Wars movies, but then he does a lot of risque stuff, a lot of like indie stuff. So there's some actors like Burt Lancaster used to do it. They do the popular movie so they could do their own projects.
Right. And that's
Something like that.
very.
That's right.
I mean, I like it all, and that's what I
case.
just
It's
like. I
like-
want to bring youth into. I think people really dig it. You know.
It's so
I
true.
want.
Yeah.
I want to say that the
Yeah.
orchestra, was it the first time you ever did this unnerving when like the audience started booing and hissing? during the-
when like the Slytherin house appears or something.
Right, and people started hissing.
I love it.
and
We're
it-
like, yes. No, we want them to talk. We want them to laugh. We
Yeah.
want them to sing along.
They even say it when it starts. Boo, cheer, hiss.
That's right.
What'd you
Yeah.
want to say, Ken?
No, yeah, exactly.
No, I was just going to throw Nina a question about what is it that they are
Yes.
listening to, and
Yeah.
what are the kids
I
listening to?
definitely
want to
know that. That's a great
Yes.
question.
Well, I can talk for like every teenagers in the world, but I feel like today the popular songs like the R&B songs, you know, this kind of thing, maybe especially coming to summer, Latino songs, and I feel like incorporating these kind of songs and like kind of like themes in the orchestra would probably bring more like young people in the
Absolutely.
and I think it would be a good way to maybe introduce young people to what is real music, you know.
Yes.
Well, you know, they know that Ben Folds is coming to play with
that's
the
right,
RPO,
yeah.
which is a great crossover. But I do want to bust a myth right now, and that's the idea of bringing young kids into the orchestra is a myth, and I think it's a pipe dream. You know, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra has been around for how long, right? A gazillion years. 100 years ago, and they always track. They're the best tracking orchestra in the country. 100 years ago, the average listener attendee was 55. 10 years ago in Chicago, the average attendee was 55. So I think there is a whole level. I was talking to a coworker yesterday, and she said, you know, I've started listening to classical on the radio. And I looked at her and said,
Thank you.
how old are you?
55.
I said, not trying to be rude.
Oh no.
56.
Oh.
And
Wow.
I think there is something that is, I don't want to say genetic, but a moment when your ears need a different sound, a different energy, which is what she was saying.
That is true. Yeah.
And so we can work to definitely expose kids to classical music. And I know this is very big on Andrea Stauf's agenda, is bringing the orchestra into the school.
Well-
But I think the idea that we're magically going to have a whole lot
It's
of...
not magical. It's not magical. What do you?
Thoughts, Nina?
I think the problem is that a lot of people, like, you know, 8 to 16 years old, see the opera as like classical music, Beethoven and stuff, like, and
Yeah.
people are not falling into that anymore.
Yeah.
But I feel like now the orchestra can play a lot of other songs with different themes, like, you know, kind of popular songs too, introduce them to old classical musics, maybe introduce like some Latino sounds to Beethoven things. And I feel like mixing these two like themes and
Yes.
songs would be a good way to
Crossover.
introduce people, maybe like introduce them to what they know
There are
and what
many
they
entry
don't.
points. There are many. Yep. Okay.
Many,
No, I was just thinking they're redoing now West Side Story, right? So all of that Bernstein music is going to become new again to a whole new generation of kids. You know,
Yeah.
I can remember as a kid, Rochesterian, them putting me on. You know, the schools putting us on buses when we were really little.
Yeah.
Howard Hansen standing on the stage at the Eastman telling us about the chandelier and about the orchestra, and this is what this sounded. 55 years old was your benchmark, right? It hooked me, and I was a kid in grammar school.
I found Ma Zagorski pictures in an exhibition just by luck, and I was liked it
Boom,
from there.
that was
and
it,
I would
yeah.
say read the lives of the great composers. They were the rock stars of the time. They were actually a lot worse than the rock stars.
Yeah.
Right.
But-
Well, you know, I mean, I you know, this. There are so. I mean, this is so great to have all these different viewpoints, because essentially, I think the biggest thing that we need to realize is that there are many, many different audiences, and for each audience, they need something a little bit different.
Exactly.
And again, what is that entry point? And one of the ones I want to ask you about, Nina, is how do you think orchestras can use social media in a way to better appeal to your age group? Because I mean, I can say, at least from personally from this last year, branching out into TikTok and even Instagram in ways I was suddenly seeing so much more classical music. I was seeing a lot of young people. I was seeing a lot of really incredible talent and art and collaborations, literally. Do you know you can duet with someone on TikTok? You literally can duet with Beyonce. You can take her video and overlay yours on top of hers and put it out there in the world. You know, there's been so much copyright and privacy for understandable good reasons, but in the social media age, I'm feeling like the more that we can share what we're doing in just the smaller, more visual, interactive formats, maybe the better, we'll connect. But what do you think?
I think the principal thing would be to track people on social media that young people use. I know a lot of things about opera and classical music taking place on Facebook and Twitter, and I know like people from my generation are really using it anymore.
Okay.
So it would be better, I think, to put a lot of things on Snapchat.
Yeah.
Snapchat is a big thing, like, the public stories, Instagram, and TikTok, of course.
Okay.
And the good thing with TikTok is that you can make people participate with you. So you can have your TikTok account, do something, and ask people to do it and you can discover new talents and introduce them to classical music. Like, oh, I want to do that too. I want to play this song on the piano too. I want to, start piano.
But I think I do want to again play devil's advocate, because it's a large leap between a 5-minute and a Mahler symphony, and this this goes to what you're saying about the many different audiences.
That's right.
And I think that I know orchestras, and we're going through this, by the way, for classical radio. So we have much of the same sort of struggle on what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. I think orchestras need to understand and do understand that a packed pops show doesn't necessarily mean a packed Philharmonics show.
Yeah. I mean, I wish people would take. I always say, go to what you like, but then try things you don't. You might like them.
And that is important and very,
that's what I've always
really
done.
Cool.
That's why I found so much.
And so we need more stepping stones, right? We need a way to get. Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Does the Philharmonic have a person-specific select that handles and knows intimately all of those social medias?
We do not currently have anyone on staff who is doing that, but we actually have we have a lot of new, changeover happening right now, and I think actually we did just get a Snapchat geolocator for our last concert, which is awesome because, again, I think one thing that we need to realize is that the social media is really the sort of free advertising that you get people to participate, to post that your tags, then all of their friends know about it. Yeah.
I think that also there are behaviors that we need to think about doing away with. Things like tuxes, and let's talk about not drinking in the hall.
Do you say things like Texas?
Tuxes.
Tuxes, yes. I am so done with taxes.
That too.
I think that
no tuxes. Oh my gosh, so done.
There's this whole. Now, first of all, I asked Andreas Dels, is it time to take to dump the tux? And he's like, I don't know, I like them.
He looks a good one. Yeah,
he likes them. But the whole feeling, and I bet you feel this. The stiff formality of the dressing up and all of that stuff. It's kind of it sort of puts people off a little.
I think the problem is that I think the big problem, and I think it's the same thing for every kind of old things or people see it as old things, is that we have stereotypes and judgments about what it is. I know a lot of teenagers think that it's super long, you need to dress up so formally in like dresses and a suit and stuff, and I think that's why a lot of teenagers are like, I don't want to.
I want to wear a tux to a Ramones show. I would have loved to have done that.
They would rather go to a concert where they can just dress like jogs and stuff, and
the unspoken rules that if you violate it, no clapping between movements.
Oh my gosh.
We had a lovely volunteer who was a little traditional, shall we say, and Sharon Isbin came in town to play Concierto Cervantes, and they applauded between every movement, and she was not happy.
Oh. Well,
And-
she won't even let you shake her hand.
You never hear more cowbell, do you?
No, we always use more cowbell. But I think these are unwritten rules. Hey, when Beethoven's Seventh was first performed, that allegretto finish, that beautiful movement,
Yeah.
there was a screaming round of applause, and they had to play it again.
Oh, yeah, I
They
know.
had to
We
pl-
need more of
and,
that.
And what is wrong with that? What is wrong
That's
with
right.
somebody saying, you know, they really dug that. Let's do that again.
Yeah.
Ken, any last words
Yeah,
here?
no, it's all changed. Our orchestra of yesterday was very conservative, and today we're now talking orchestras of 2021, where we've younger people, newer times. I think we're a lot more likely to see the orchestra of today doing Latino, doing rap, doing this, doing that, bringing in more and more
International
music, world music into the auditorium to bring in, hopefully, and it's going to take time, more and more of the kids to.
This is all about equity and diversity.
Ah.
This is all about making sure that the doors and the art form are open for everyone. And everybody who walks in those doors feels welcome
Yes.
and is happy.
Some of the
Yes.
conservative
And here.
things to fall away, yes.
That's right.
And
Yes.
you want to? We're going to have to wrap up pretty soon. It's
I
been
know.
really fun.
Well, Nina-
But Nina wants to say something.
I just think that a good example of how people bring young people now to history and orchestra and stuff is Hamilton. You know, the Broadway
Yes!
show, how they incorporated the Latino R&B and rap songs to history, and that
that's
brought
so
a lot
good.
of people to know Hamilton's story. And I know now in high school, everybody knows
Everyone knows.
how Hamilton.
They've
you know,
even done this
rose
with
up.
Metamorphosis.
So
One
doing that with-
translation, they had rap
Yeah.
in it for like the Furies and
But
stuff.
doing that with
So
other
true. Yeah.
historical characters, historical thing, and orchestra would be a good way to make people know about the orchestra, and then, I want to go listen to Mozart
And I
songs.
was
You know?
so right.
I was
You're
so
so right.
surprised when I saw Hamilton because it was such a traditional musical in structure, but it wasn't.
It was awesome.
Exactly, and it was a brilliant push to the future.
Like,
for
oh,
that
young
art
people,
form.
come! You can do your
So
own
fun.
show and use like rap and R&B songs like you like, and put them in a Broadway show and impress people with that. And I think that was a good move because young people saw that we're listening, like people listen to us and they're doing what we like on Broadway. You know?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But this has been really great. I
So
I wish we could do this for
wonderful.
3 hours or so.
I know. What are you
But-
doing later tonight?
But one word answer, like from the musicians, is there any instrument you'd like to play that you've never played before? Just one word.
Oh.
Not you, Glenn. I said musicians. I'm not saying it either.
What is the...
Theremin.
Theremin.
That one.
I can
That's
teach you
the
that
one.
one.
I want to learn a theremin. Wait, what are you pointing to?
That's Bob Moog. That's Dr. Robert Moog. That's a photo of
There's
Dr.
a photo of Robert
Moog,
Moog in the studio here.
who invented the synthesizer, and his first instrument that he worked on sold essentially was the theremin.
No.
Yes.
And the second connection today was Trumansburg.
He's from Trumansburg?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Was. He's passed.
And Nina, any instrument? You've done the ukulele. What's next?
I would like to try the electric guitar.
We could arrange that.
Yes.
We know
Play a bit
some
of rock and roll like Queen.
I
and
think
stuff,
I
you
know that one. Yeah, I think I
Fun.
get
Do you
that
sing
one.
too? Sing a little
I
bit?
try in the shower.
Yes.
Does it count?
Yes, it counts. Everyone sings.
She sings and she's very shy. So no.
I would like to point out that not everybody sings, and if you do not want to hear me sing,
I want to hear you sing, Julia. It's my
I
life's
sound
wish.
like Marianne Faithfull when I sing. It's just very sweet.
But segue now, where we can find your show on 91.5
Monday through Friday from noon to 3, and classical 91.5. So 91.5 and 90.3 FM if you're in the Houghton area, and you can always stream us. Nina, you can stream us at wxxiclassical.org, so you can listen to a little piece of Rochester at
all you
times
listeners in
when you
France. There
back
we
to
go.
France.
And Grace, what's
So
coming up
good.
so much?
Oh my gosh, so I'm heading to Santa Fe in about a week with my beloved Benjamin Krug. We're going to get to play together actually in the orchestra, which is going to be so fun. And I am actually working on a podcast with my dear friend Cheryl Ozzie-Fetter, a wonderful harpist, currently based in Detroit. And this is a podcast called Strung Together. It is
You and those
basically
puns for
hosted
these,
by
I love it.
know it's so bad it's good, right?
Yes.
No, it's basically conversations with some of the harpists of today who have just completely transformed the image and the genre of the harp, and used it to connect with so many new audiences, whether it's virtually or in the schools in East Cleveland, or through TikTok. And it's just been really a fun way to stay connected with people and to feature just all the good stuff.
The only
that's
thing I'll
happening.
stick in
And
this
you're
Thursday
teaching too, right?
Yeah, you're teaching.
I am teaching. I'm so excited. I'm doing a harp intensive for DePaul University with some fantastic orchestral harpists from Chicago. I'm also going to be doing a really fun class for the Harp Column Summer Academy on warming up with wellness.
And we could find you, like all the stuff, people who are interested, you're all over, as you said.
Yes, please. Yeah, follow me on Instagram at The Graceful Harpist. And also, please follow at Musicians of RPO. This is the musician-curated feed. We actually are going to be joining TikTok soon.
Okay, I still have not taken the plunge on that one.
Oh,
but-
it's fun. You can just join. You don't have to post yet. But it is actually, it's just so much more like
It's
user
short videos.
It's
too,
really
yes.
short and fun, and again, very content based. But it's fun for us because this is really how we want to continue to grow. We're really just embracing our virtual friends and presence, and really looking forward to connect with everyone in person.
And coming up this Thursday at Abilene, the debut of Jukebox Riot. It's our good old friends Kim Draheim, Roy Stein. It's all new psychedelic.
New band, that's right.
It's going to be really good. Ken, anything on the horizon for you?
No, I'm just starting to get back out again. I think this Wednesday I'll be over at Abilene's to see.
Get his autographs, Linda. Stay back. Don't try to
it'll be
distance.
good. It'll be good. Brian Yarmel is going to be playing with
Yarms.
Yarms.
He's got a residency there.
I'm really looking forward to getting out again. It's been a
I'm
long
taking
year.
my. But Grace, at the end, we didn't haul your harp in here. You've talked about it.
Yes,
you were going
we
to play a
didn't.
little piece that we sent. What is that?
Yes, I actually did not decide yet. No.
Okay, this is going
but
to be a
we're
mystery.
gonna-
A piece by Grace.
Oh well, I can totally. You
Leave
know
it
what?
as a surprise.
Okay, it'll be a surprise. But you know what? I'd love to come back here another time with the harp. That'd be super fun.
If we can manage, like we have that's what we have Ken for, to do the hard labor.
You're like, thanks
You know
so
what?
much.
I got to tell you, every harpist I know is a Sherpa and mighty. These are mighty
kidding.
people. I watch these harpists, and they're hoisting, and they're pushing, and they're toting.
I'm sticking
and
to the
it's
kazoo.
really
Harpists, bass players, and
impressive.
keyboard
And
players.
upright
You have
basses,
to be
upright
you
basses.
cannot be a wuss and play the harp. That's all.
And on that note, thanks for everybody, and have fun.